take two because of loud millennials. Let's get on with it. Flare gun, subcaliber adapters, and legality, and are you allowed to make a fucking flare gun? I'm preparing to contact the ATF to ask them, yes or no, I want you to make a ruling. Am I allowed to make a plastic flare gun? Am I allowed to make a metal flare gun? Am I allowed to make it in 12 gauge? 25 millimeter? That's a special one that I thought was obsolete, but it's just the one the Orion Flare Gun Company used so that you couldn't put the other cartridges in. The 26.5 millimeter, aka 1 inch, which is the normal one. And 37 millimeter, which is the 1.5 inch bore. So, let's go on with this while people need to be loud. There's a company where you can buy a hunk of Schedule 40 1 inch pipe, and it's a slam fire flare launcher. It's brand new. It's not military surplus, although they sell those. And that's a 26.5 millimeter flare launcher. It really is a hunk of pipe. They just bored it out a little bit and made it to where you could chamber the cartridges, and that's it. You can make a flare gun, as long as it's a design that was almost never used for violent purposes or ammunition that would hurt anybody. The 40 millimeter, if you're not aware of it, gas gun for firing all sorts of things. Over half of the things you can fire out of it conventionally throughout history and currently available items, clink clink, are anti-personnel items that will hurt people. Almost 100% of anything in 12 gauge can hurt somebody. Virtually nothing in the 1 inch variety is actually made to shoot anybody with. Or in the 37 millimeter, although there is one grenade. That's why it can't be defined as a grenade launcher or as a destructive device, because it has a recognized civilian purpose or recognized non-violent purpose. Signaling, making smoke grenades fly. You can also use it to make loud noises, just noisemakers, for scaring away birds. They use it because it's safer for the person doing it than throwing an M80 on the ground. Now, let's go back to the 12 gauge plastic toy gun that is used for firing flares in the United States. The reason is it's acceptable is it's made so that it will not be usable or effective as a weapon. But the others can be. The 25 millimeter and 26.5 millimeter can be easily used with actual, real rounds. They do exist. Well, not really. You have to reload them. There's no company making them raw except as flare cartridges. So the ATF would say, if you're reloading these, and you make them, and you have any materials in the same room or in the same building that could be used to put in buckshot or whatever, then they can decide that you are showing intent to make a destructive device out of a flare gun. Yeah. Why? Well, because the 40 millimeter can be destructive. You can reload it too. Obsolete ammo rule, that sort of thing. So let's go on. If you don't use any offensive type of ammunition, any newly made or old 37 millimeter replica that was originally a 40 millimeter, but you make a 37 millimeter version, is legally defined as a signaling device or flare launcher only. Only one grenade can fit that diameter. If you did it as a 40 millimeter, so many literally readily available in other countries violent devices can be put into it. It's scary. Now, if you have reloading materials, there's a problem. Manufacturing deadly ammunition. So let's continue. They'll say you're manufacturing instead of reloading. Let's go on. You can register to remove any questions as to your usage of it by asking them to declare the pipe gun that you made that fires flares to be deliberately a destructive device. It's $200. You built it out of pipe from the hardware store. And at that point, legally speaking, if you put in any round, you're okay. Well, why would you do that? There's only one round available that is actually a grenade. Having it declared a grenade launcher and going through the background check shows that you are prominently and notoriously asking them to check you out first. Number one. This way, I don't have to register it if I don't have to put those in there. But if it's a 40, I would, because they would assume it's for a destructive device. Here's the other reason. If you reload your own ammo and you're off by a couple of grams, it's a destructive device. You have to reload your own because people sell you reloadable items. People reload shotgun shells all the time, and they're conventionally legally available. But they're not born flare gun cartridges that you have to load up with buckshot. That's also a rule. You're not supposed to take a flare gun cartridge and reload it with buckshot. If you didn't know that. If it was originally intended as not being an anti-personnel item, you can't convert it. But why doesn't pipe from the store count that way? Because it's a raw material. Even if it's prepped partially, it's always considered raw material. It's never considered a completed item. a lamp may actually legally qualify as something you cannot convert into a barrel. So what about the other things? 1-inch Schedule 40 pipe, slam-fire pipe guns, and that sort of thing. Yeah, you are. You can use it if it has that 1-inch internal diameter and it's not 35 or 40. It's just if it's 25, it's perfectly acceptable because virtually all of it is flare gun stuff or smoke grenades or noise makers. So let's go on with the next one. What about inserts to convert it to other diameters? Now here's where it gets weird. The official thing you get from the ATF is they're going to tell you, well, if you're a felon, why would you bring up felon? Because you don't want to answer the question. It's a distraction. Well, if you're going to do this with shotgun shells, no, I mean, literally just answer the question. A bunch of companies actually had to ask them very pointed questions. If I make a 22 caliber long rifle sub-caliber conversion for a flare gun, is it illegal for me to make it? No room to bitch around. No. Is it illegal for someone to buy it from me? No. Is it illegal for them to put it into a flare gun? No. Is it illegal for them to load a bullet into it but not put it in the flare gun? No. Is it illegal for them to put them all three of these things together and chamber it and fire it? Once they're pinned down, they said, well, we're going to bring up felons, and no. Yes or no, is it illegal? No. The presumption shouldn't be it's a felon, or it should be treated as a felony, or let's bring up California law. The ATF did not want to say, yes, you're allowed to do that. Why? Rifling. It's a pistol with rifling. Before that, it's not a firearm. But what about shotgun shells? I'm going to tell you how to do that. Plastic flare launchers are classified as not being a firearm. It'll become any other weapon if it's made into a smoothbore pistol or possessed with a smoothbore insert capable of accepting conventional ammunition, cartridge ammunition, that's smoothbore. That means if you take a hunk of pipe and stick it into one of these flare launchers, doesn't matter what it is, even the 12-gauge toy one, and you make it built like a muzzleloader to where it acts literally like a cartridge, and it's a muzzleloader pistol, that kind of design, they can't go after you for it. And the next one that is really funny. Some of you might have already thought of this, but what if you just use a really large, long subcaliber insert and make it 26 inches long like I've told you guys to do in the videos? It's considered a firearm and it's not illegal. No tax stamp, not $5, not $200. Why? Because you're not trying to make a concealable smoothbore shotgun. And you can also just put rifle in it. So at that point it's a rifle with a pistol grip. Pistol grip rifles aren't illegal. If you make it a short barrel, it has to be rifled. If you make it a long barrel, it can be smoothbore. In fact, you're probably better off. But that's if you make it from scratch. This is converting a pistol over. Well, maybe. Let's talk. But if they're rifled inserts and they're short and they fit inside of the dang thing, it is then turned into a pistol. Flare launcher inserts are classified as a $200 tax any other weapon only when possessed with or installed in a flare launcher, except unmodified flare only 25mm to 12-gauge adapters. Yeah, turning a 1-inch bore flare gun into a 12-gauge flare gun is acceptable. But you can't put anything in there. It has a $200 tax stamp. But what if it's rifled? And then they had to say, well, then it's just a pistol. I can't give you a fine for that. Rifled bore short inserts capable of accepting conventional ammunition under 50 caliber. This is a crucial rule. Under or at 50. Now, you want to do under. Or a smoothbore 26-inch long insert capable of accepting conventional ammunition will be a firearm as it never started out with a stock or meant to be shoulder fired. This is the pistol grip rule. If you make something with a pistol grip and it's rifled and short barreled, it's a pistol. If you make it long barreled and it's smoothbored, the ATF had to decide that those, even if it's a break action shotgun looking thing, it's a firearm. There's no intent to make it a hidden item. It's not qualified under short barrel shotguns or short barreled rifles or pistols. And yeah, you can actually just make it into a shotgun by just making this a mechanical receiver. I'm going somewhere with this. Come on. Follow me. if a firearm was not originally designed or manufactured in its present condition, you have to do a $200 tax for the individual, unless the ATF said it's $0 and exempt, that's where the pistol grip shotgun exemption came in, because there was no real reasoning behind anything else to it. They made the decision. So a pistol with a 26-inch overall length is a firearm, not a rifle or pistol or shotgun, even if it is really originally a pistol. Oh, wait a minute, can you convert it? Here we go. If a firearm was not originally designed or manufactured in its present condition, they can choose to do $200. Now it's up to them. So someone asked them some more questions. You can own a 37mm gas flare gun or its ammunition with no hassle, because it's almost 100% of it is it's not anti-personnel, it's not bullets or anything that's going to hurt anybody. They include all sorts of weird things as being anti-personnel, but not at the same time as anti-personnel ammunition that's legal if you own it alone. You can own the grenades, and you can own the grenade launcher, just not at the same time. But if you get a permit to have it as a grenade launcher, you can do whatever you want to. If you accidentally end up with what looks like a standard flare gun cartridge, but it's actually a flechette round, because they do actually have some unmarked ones, you can go to jail for a long time. So that's why a lot of people just go ahead and get these registered this way. Not metal, rubber, wood, projectiles, bullets or pellets, tennis balls or explosives. Yes, because someone brought up tennis ball guns, because there's a tennis ball that's about that size that'll fit into one of them, they decided that would immediately cause it to become, even though it's fired with a primer, that's an anti-personnel weapon. Someone shot a cop with a tennis ball, and they decided to make a rule against it. That's how our laws get created. Stop shooting at cops with tennis balls. Yes, there's a ping pong ball launcher. It specifies do not insert tiny, tiny little tennis balls. They actually use tiny, tiny little tennis balls on the instructions. Please don't do that. The ATF sees PVC pipe potato guns as a destructive device, but had to rule that they couldn't be, because potato gun. And yeah, you're allowed at that point, because you built it from scratch. If you build it from scratch and don't buy it, you're allowed to call it a giant Nerf gun and load potatoes or tennis balls. Just don't shoot anybody with them. Pistols that can fire a 410 shot shell and 45 Colt. If the barrel is rifled, it's not considered a short barrel shotgun, even though it can fire shotgun shells, because it's a rifled barrel. The idea originally is that it had rifling in it. Now there's a reasoning behind it, but they've since gone to plaid on these rules and just decided, yeah, it has to have rifling if it's a short barrel. If it's a longer barrel, make sure it's at least 18 inches and make sure it's patterned as a shotgun or rifle. And if you don't want to do that, make the whole damn thing 26 inches long, preferably the whole barrel 26 inches long, and put a pistol grip on it. And that's where we get the pistol grip flare gun toy concept. ATF letters are not valid for anybody else except the person that submitted the question. And the tech branch letter that you get is not considered legally binding, and it can be ignored in court. ATF ruling number 95, etc. you can read below. But it's on gas flare guns and rulings on all sorts of things. And I've got it listed below, but I'm not going to read it anymore. I'm not going to try to. So I did a video on the 4-gauge short barrel shotgun, pistol grip shotgun, that's really just a Schedule 40 1-inch pipe used as a subcaliber insert in a 25mm, which is it's the Orion flare gun rip-off version that's too small to chamber the older rounds of the 26.5mm standard 1-inch bore flare gun. You can stick that Schedule 41 in there because the actual diameter, 26.5mm, is almost exactly the same diameter as the outside of the pipe of the next one down, 12-gauge shotgun barrel made out of a 3/4 inch pipe. And the 1-inch pipe can act as a complete replacement flare gun barrel. So you can actually use that. You can own a 12-gauge, 25mm, etc. flare gun without tax rules applying except in certain states. You can convert these things. And your best starting point is not the little 12-gauge one. It's to build a 1-inch bore flare gun, a great big freaking gun. And again, this was all just for me doing cosplay stuff. And yeah, you can make $500 a pop if you make a bunch of brass ones that are really cool looking. If I ever get indoors, I'm going to start pouring brass. And yeah, they're totally legal even if they're a reproduction you build, and they don't have to be disabled in any way, because it can't really chamber anything dangerous, except a hunk of pipe.